are joined by our faculty from University of Alberta, Professor Valentina Kozlova.
One of my courses, I have students develop a project which is in groups. So they have to work in teams throughout the whole semester. And so when we moved to online, the only way I saw to continue with this project in the online environment was by using Kritik. So I learned how it worked and worked with Kritik. They helped me set up. And it all went great. And so I finally learned what are some of the good things that Kritik can provide for me. And now that we're back in person, I am still using Kritik for my projects, group projects in my classes. So I'm not going back to just doing it how I did before. And also in some other classes, I use it for individual assignments as well. The big thing that I found that I didn't even anticipate, the big benefit that I now find from using Kritik is how I am able to allow students to engage with the other group's work. That was always kind of, it was always something that I wanted my students to do, but could never figure out a meaningful way for them to do it. Right? So I would assign a portion of their grade to them summarizing other people's projects after they see short 20-minute presentation at the end of the semester. That was kind of the best way that I found, to have that engagement with others' work, because I did want everybody to see what everybody else was doing. But it was hard to introduce it into class without spending a lot of time in class and without having it be a lot of work for me in terms of grading. And that's kind of one thing that Kritik really gave me. I am now able to have my scaffolded assignment for students where they submit parts, bits and pieces of the whole semester project. And then every time they submit the next piece, they get to evaluate other groups' pieces. And they seem to really like that process as well. They get to see what everyone else is working on multiple times throughout the semester, not just at the end. And they are, engaged in this in a way more meaningful way. They see what other people are doing. They are able to, bring the good parts of other ideas into their own project, and they are able to see what kind of mistakes that other people make that they can avoid. I hope that it got them closer to understanding what a good research question actually is, because that calibration activity, right, showed me that they really didn't, even though, we talked about it and there were nods and everything, but this activity really showed me where the gaps were, and hopefully I was able to close them a little bit. The calibration, I'm just saying that calibration exercise really helps at many levels. Student engagement, that one is great when you have consistent schedule of these things. Students have to engage with Kritik like all the time on a continuous basis without it being overwhelming, I think, because it's a small things that you have to do on there every once in a while. So I don't know, every once a week or so, you have to get on Kritik and either see other people's work or and evaluate it, or submit feedback on others evaluating your work, or just see the rubric for the next assignment and kind of think about what you're going to do there, without me having to grade submissions every week, which is excellent. And so it really does save time, and while providing these consistent and frequent opportunities for students to engage with the material and with each other. At the end of the semester, where everyone's busy, it's hard to keep attendance, when the only thing happening in class is other people presenting their work. Now, I have my students engage with others' work right from the beginning. So they submit their proposals, and then they get to see everybody else's proposals. So they get to evaluate and kind of get the feedback. So all that is really, something that I really appreciate. And that's why I didn't go back to the in-person way of running this activity. I mean, we do talk about it in person class, but they have to submit everything through Kritik, because it does give me all these things that I really can't get any other way. What it helped with is my workload. Like I said, I was only able to have 2 points of assessment before using Kritik. So I would collect basic research proposals, and then I would grade all of them and then give feedback, usually extensive feedback to students to tell them, how they can improve. And then they went away and worked another half a semester and then brought back the final presentations. Now I am able to split that task into 4 steps, right, as opposed to only 2. So they first send me the proposal and just proposed experimental design. Then they get feedback on that. Then they send the actual experimental design, which they can incorporate the feedback into. And then they send some consent forms and some other handouts they develop for hypothetical experimental subjects. And then finally, right, and so every step of the way they get feedback. So supposedly now when we get to the final project submission at the end of the semester, which they have to do a presentation on, supposedly they got 3 points of feedback with some ideas on how to improve things, and then we get a better product. So that's what that allowed, just saving time on me having to grade everything.